the build-up, there was the draft taking place for training, and as an American, I wanted to do my part. It was really my motivation. If somebody asked me if the military was a desired career, I would have probably said no. But it was the environment that we were in, that the build-up all across the country to support our allies in Europe. I was in the engineering program and taking ROTC. My instructor perhaps planted the seed that maybe I would apply for the flying side of the program that began in 1941. The Army was going to experiment and allow some training of black aviators, so I applied for that aviation training and was accepted and got the call to go down to Tuskegee. They had been involved in the civilian pilot training program, but the Army was still saying no to those pilots who had gotten their private pilot's license and wanted to get Army training. They didn't even believe blacks could fly. Out of some studies that were done earlier, at least that was their conclusions. It wasn't a real study, I don't think, because they didn't get the facts right. So their policy was not taking blacks into the aviation corps. And the only blacks they were enlisting were entered into service squadrons to do labor. Well, it was authorized in 1940, but they got the training underway in 1941. They had authorized a squadron of training for black pilots, which had not existed in the Army Air Corps. It's something that we had always said, give us the opportunity. Before, we had been told you can't do something, but had never been given the chance to do it.
In July of 1941, 5 young Negroes made aviation history at Tuskegee, Alabama.
Now, that first squadron that had been authorized had come down to Tuskegee, and all of the pilots finished their training in that squadron. They proved blacks could fly given the opportunity.
Results are soon checked, and the deadly accuracy of these young pilots calls for a hearty congratulations all around.
I guess there was a realization they're going to have replacements, so they authorized additional squadrons, and I was assigned and did my training for the 302nd Fighter Squadron. And so we began to form the group, those 3 squadrons, training out of Selfridge Field in Michigan, and left our training combat ready, got on a boat, and we ended up going directly to Italy. There was still, even in the combat zone, there was no mixing of the black and white Air Corps organization. Our job was to stick with bombers, climbing across the Adriatic and across Yugoslavia, then into Germany, Bulgaria, Romania. Those were the target areas, the chemical plants, say, of Regensburg, Germany, Ploesti oil fields in Romania. Once they got on the bomb run, they didn't waver. And whether the flak was there or not, was hang in there till bombs away. We always saluted bomber pilots because you know when the bomber was hit and going down, that's 10 crewmen. Even if German aircraft were up, if they did not attack the bomber stream we were protecting, we didn't always leave the bombers just to try to go after them. If they attacked the bomber stream, then our flights were dispatched to fight them off. The first time you are fully aware that there's enemy fire in and around you, that they are firing, gets your attention. Your adrenaline does flow a little faster. The 332nd, or let's say Tuskegee Airmen, did not lose a bomber to a German fighter that they had under escort. I ended up total combat missions of 136. Well, the word was fighter pilots generally could be brought out of the combat zone after 50 missions. Most of the Tuskegee Airmen ended up with well over 100 missions. Over the time that we were in Europe, 66 pilots lost their life. We had 32 who became prisoners of war. I came home just past mid-November of '44. By this time, the combat returnees began to replace the white instructors that had taught us at Tuskegee. And so I ended up as an instructor. The war ended, about April of '45, and the group was one deactivated as the war ended. The planning for the Air Force to become a separate service, which took place in 1947, the Air Arm separated from the Army, and our United States Air Force was born. The Air Force looked at the experience, found out that we as blacks could perform up to the standard. All we needed was the opportunity that they intended to integrate. Even President Truman, a few months later in '48, issued a couple of very important executive orders, but 9981 mandated that all of the services should take action toward integration. There still was, I guess, that little impetus to become a regular officer. I guess in the back of the mind still the recognition of the limitation of opportunities that still face the black and the general society. And when you're enjoying doing something you're doing, getting paid for it, why not stay with it?